And I want to see you, not
Hare
me.
Krishna and
Hare
welcome
Krishna.
everybody. This is Prabhupada Memoirs. This is your chance to hear directly from disciples of Srila Prabhupada. And as you know, we've been starting this from August and we spoke to so many of the disciples so far. And today I am just so stoked to speak to His Grace Rajendranandana Prabhu, who is a Prabhupada disciple from those early years. And at the same time, for me, why it's so special is because I've been seeing Prabhu, Rajendra Prabhu in Mayapur Dham for so many years. With Pankaj Janri Prabhu and Jani Vas Prabhu, you always were there close by. And I was like, who is this Prabhu? Who is this Prabhu? And then when I was getting ready to do this interview, I was like, I can't find a picture of him. And then I realized that he shaved his hair off. And that's why. And like, it's just amazing to now just have that association with you. For me, it feels like I'm connecting back with the Dhams because that's where I saw you. And now we're talking about Srila Prabhupada. So it will help everyone here to connect with Srila Prabhupada. So I just want to say thank you so much for joining today. And
Wow, it's an honor and a privilege. And yeah, we've spoken previously setting this all up. And I am so happy that now I can count you as one of my friends and look forward to having, face to face in the Dom sometime.
and you know, one thing about you is your connection with Krishna consciousness. Now get this, everybody, is before even I was born. 1972 it started for you. Hey, that rhymed. That's amazing. 1972. And the reasons you were saying was the pages of the Bhagavad Gita. So everyone talks about having the association. So can we, before we start with Srila Prabhupada, tell us about that encounter and how you got the Bhagavad Gita, please.
Thank you for asking. I had hoped that I could share this because sometimes second generation, third generation, what to speak of in the future, they think, oh, I'm so unfortunate. I didn't have Prabhupada's association, etc. I think in London or in England, what is that term? Bullocks?
Yeah.
Baloney, I might say in America, baloney. Because I first met Srila Prabhupada in the pages of Bhagavad Gita as it is. For me, the way the Lord arranged it was very significant. I was thinking about becoming a vegetarian. We went to a friend's house who lived in the country on a farm, and they were vegetarians, and it was Thanksgiving, so it was my first vegetarian Thanksgiving feast in a farm. And for a hippie, this is all like, yeah, this is really spiritual. This is where it's at. And then sitting on the table in their living room was this book, and I picked it up and looked at it, and I opened it up, and immediately I was just captured. There were things being said by Krishna that, like, whoa. And I said, wow, can I read this? And so instead of visiting with my friends for that day, I spent the whole day reading Bhagavad Gita. And that's where I got to meet my spiritual master. Immediately, he got his transcendental hand on the back of my neck and says, I'm pulling you out of this world. And so I just wanted to share that with you, that as Srila Prabhupada said about his own spiritual master, I met him a handful of times, but he never was without his association. And so for all of you, Srila Prabhupada is present in his books, and he's just wanting to enter into your heart and have a one-on-one relationship with you. He wants to give us all the mercy of Krishna.
18, when you received the Bhagavad Gita. For me, I know now we have this university sessions, KC SOC, we call it, Krishna Conscious Society. At the age of 21 or 18, 19, people go to there, and then hopefully they start to understand Krishna consciousness, and then they get the Bhagavad Gita at some point. But for you, you were fast-tracked. You were just straight Bhagavad Gita, here you go. And I just find that just so amazing.
Well, just to put it in proper perspective, it took me reading the Bhagavad Gita 3 times before I finally realized, hey, I don't have to smoke marijuana and get high before I can enter into the mystery of Bhagavad Gita. I'm not the quickest learner in the group. So, but the process, although it may be gradual, it is effective. It works.
Yeah. No, thank you. And then, now coming on to, I think it was 1973, you joined the ashram. So 72, you received the book. And 73, you joined the ashram.
Well,
Is that correct?
if I can say, so yeah, after that we went out and we did some traveling. Went to the West Coast. I was in Oklahoma, middle of the states. And when we came back, the very first thing when we came back, a devotee caught me in a bank parking lot and gave me the Krishna trilogy books. At that time, they were 3 paper books. And I spent the next 2 months of the summer reading Krishna books. And that was it. That's what really did it. Then we were motivated to go drive down to Dallas, a few hundred miles to see the temple there, and just kind of put our toes in the water. And we bought some more books, got some japa beads, got the Hare Krishna cookbook. And once you start cooking and offering your food stuff to Krishna and chanting Hare Krishna, then it's a done deal. But then we moved into the temple, yes, in 1973.
Wow. And on this temple, there's a really nice, and I want everybody to see this. There's this nice little video, and I want to share, if I may, that I found, Prabhu. And I'm just going to just bring that up for everybody, because this video, just watch it, everybody. And then I want you to just tell me if you recognize where Prabhu was in this video. Okay? So please get ready. Here it comes.
Srila Prabhupada is handing out rasgullas to everyone.
Krishna se tomara, Krishna dite para, tomara se aje. Krishna se tomara, Krishna dite para, tomara shakti aje.
Oh.
If you blinked, you missed me.
So I'm gonna show that in a sec. So everybody, I want you to see. Let's have a look where Prabhu is. Here he is. I'm gonna just put. He was so wow. You were just an ecstasy after receiving that as Rasgula. You're just, because you just were cheering up. Prabhu, can you please explain to us how this was
that day was the first time I got to meet Srila Prabhupada. I'd been practicing and I had become initiated, and I just couldn't wait to meet Srila Prabhupada. Oh my gosh, it seemed like an eternity. But I'll back up just a touch. He landed in the Dallas airport, and I'd like to share with you that experience. He's coming out of the wing, from the airplane, the hallway corridor, whatever, and we're all lined up. There's 200 or 300 devotees lined up, all the children and visiting guests and everything. And I'm way down the line with my children. And as soon as he came out, before I even got to see him, devotees immediately, you could tell by their Haribo and Srila Prabhupada. And before I even saw him, there was this like tsunami wave of ecstasy that just went right down the airport corridor, overwhelming me, and fell down, to pay my obeisances. And that's when I began crying. it stated that a Paramahamsa in his association, even the most neophyte, yeah, can experience shadow symptoms of bhava. So I was crying like a baby. The hairs on my arms were standing on end. And it was just so amazing to be in the presence of Srila Prabhupada and experiencing that ecstatic feeling that, you know, this prema from him ecstatic prema emanates. And that just gives me, it certainly reminds me of the experience, that picture that you're showing in the video.
Wow.
But yeah, he had a news conference there. There was a reporter asked him, "Why have you come to Dallas?" And this is heartwarming. He said, "Because it's my home. I have so many children and grandchildren here." So, and the other question, you can see it in Yadubara's earlier film before the Hare Krishna mantra movement, and the Swami brought it. But he's being asked by a reporter, and it seems like a lot of hippies are joining your movement. Can you please tell me what a hippie is? And Srila Prabhupada, he said, "You know better than I." And then he looked up at Dayananda Prabhu, our temple president, with a gleam in his eye and a little smile, and he said, "Something extraordinary." So I happened to fall in that category. I was certainly a hippie. That was my lot in life. But now I've met my spiritual master. I'm trying my best to take advantage of the priceless gift he's offering us. And so he's come to the temple, and he greeted the deities, and just a couple of minutes, maybe words, but then he went straight to his room. And then shortly thereafter, everyone was invited to come up and get rasgullas. First the children, then the mothers, and then any fathers. So I had a stepdaughter at that time, and I was in the back of the hallway just waiting. I couldn't believe it. I'm still crying. I'm going, "Please let me get some prasadam from Srila Prabhupada's hand." So by the time he said the fathers, then I'm like, "Oh yes, I'm going to get a rasgulla from Prabhupada." And now I'm going to share with you the one time Srila Prabhupada acknowledged verbally that he was appreciative of some little service I did. So when I came into the doorway of his room there, I was told to say the pranams very loudly so he could hear. So I began saying Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya, and falling down flat like a rod, paying my dandavats. And I had my bead bag on my neck, and I realized halfway in fall that my beads were going to touch the floor, and Srila Prabhupada wouldn't like that. So in the middle of fall, I had the wherewithal to go like that, and right as I hit the ground, continuing the pranam, Prabhupada goes, "Joy." Oh my gosh. So not only am I in the presence of Srila Prabhupada, but he's just said "Jai" to me. It's like the picture hopefully tells the story better than I am, but I was in ecstasy, and then I got the Mahaprashadam from Srila Prabhupada and exited out the room.
I want to just play this part again because it's so sweet. And please, everybody, just watch Prabhu's face. For me, this was like so touching. Here he comes. There he is. Oh, there he is. That's so like everyone's like, wow, what that must have been amazing. Like everyone's just in awe with that point. So Prabhu, I want to just come on to the point now that, you know, that was so touching. You just now had that rasgulla of Srila Prabhupada. You got that association of Srila Prabhupada. You got the sweetness of Srila Prabhupada.
Oh my goodness.
How did it feel? You've just taken, you know, you paid the obeisances, you've just gone out of that room, you've devoured.
I don't mean to be redundant, but I truly was in ecstasy. It was all about my love and my gratitude. This is the person. I mean, you know, I would have probably been arrested and gone to prison with the activities I was engaged in if Prabhupada hadn't come into my life. and I hadn't found Krishna consciousness by his mercy. So, I mean, my gratitude, you know, immediately, first thing in devotional service, your miseries are immediately, you know, destroyed. So I was so happy in the Radhakala Chanji's temple there, the Gurukula in Dallas. And I was just so grateful. I mean, I held the Rasgula in my hands for I don't know how long, because it was a quandary. It's like, wow, I don't want this moment to end, but at the same time, the juice is going down my hand, and you know, I'm thinking, oh, okay, I got to eat it, so I'll plop it in, and yeah, it was wonderful. I mean, Srila Prabhupada, he loves us so much. I mean, that's all he lived for, was to serve his spiritual master and Krishna by bringing more of us back into the family of devotional service. So the gratitude was just overwhelming. I couldn't contain myself.
Wow. You know, you can see it with the disciples so far, especially Prabhupada disciples that I've talked to and interviewed. This love and bond for Srila Prabhupada is just still so strong. And they talk about the Vapu and the Vani. They talk about the, you know, the body, you know, serving the master and then serving his instructions. And you can see this love that all of you have for Srila Prabhupada. And I think it's so infectious that it helps us as well. Because after we see that, because we've not met Srila Prabhupada, well, I haven't met Srila Prabhupada. I just know through his books, meeting disciples like yourselves, and feeling that love has helped actually propel. And I'm sure a lot of people on the chat will be also thinking this as well. So thank you on that. And, you know, it's just something
if the disciples of Srila Prabhupada aren't transparent mediums for any and all that we meet, how wonderful the relationship with Srila Prabhupada is, then we could hardly be called a disciple. To be honest with you, it's like, you know, my godbrothers, I'm seeing Srila Prabhupada in them all the time. Their devotion. It's what you're telling me about, you know, about godbrothers. So it's the same for us also. I mean, that's what ISKCON's about, is that we're meant to shore each other up and support each other and inspire each other in, you know, developing this loving reciprocation with the devotees of Krishna and the spiritual masters.
No. And I want to just now bring on, there's a very nice picture I saw of you actually with Srila Prabhupada. And I think this is happening because you got initiated when in 74, if I'm correct.
74, yeah.
I think actually we need to hear a bit about that initiation day. A bit about
okay,
you.
Well, they took their time in giving me initiation because I was spaced out. You know, my hair was halfway down my back, and like for 2 or 3 years, I was intoxicated at first thing in the morning on, you know, the evening. It's like getting high on marijuana. I mean, I was spaced out. So they weren't quite sure, but slowly but surely, you know, I became purified. The mode of ignorance, the fog dissipated. And I had the service with my wife of being ashram teachers. And they gave us the youngest children to take care of, basically 4 and 5 years old. And thank goodness she was there to help, because, you know, what does a 19-year-old, you know, space cadet know about taking care of children? I mean, but we made a good team, and we took care of the children nicely. And so I did get recommended, and Srila Prabhupada wasn't there. I mean, my GBC was there. He officiated on the first initiation, second initiation. You know, he chanted on my beads. You know, that's the way it works in ISKCON. You have to delegate. We should have a support system. So he was there, and I'm very grateful. His name was Jagadish Prabhu. And so just to become initiated, oh man, then it's formal, it's official. I'm Srila Prabhupada's disciple. To see that letter that he sent us, and now, you know, Bhakta Raymond is now, I give him the name Rajendranandana Das. And this is something, I know it's you'll smile about it, but it's kind of cool that I'm the only one who has that name. There's a lot of Rajendranandanas with a V. There's some Rajendranandanas with a B, but R long A, Rajendranandana, which I didn't know for the longest time. Atmatattva told me this. It's a name for the son of Nanda Maharaj. He said Nanda Maharaj, although he's a Vaishya, he was actually very powerful. He quoted some Purana that he had the strength like 10,000 elephants or something. I don't know, but anyway, Rajendranandana. When I got to hear that, because I always thought maybe it was Rajendra, King Indra, his son Arjuna, but I accepted Atmatattva because he really knows his stuff. So, son of Nanda Maharaj, the servant of. So I'm so happy with my name. Everybody chops it down. You were talking about Janani Vas and Pankajangri. I don't care what they call me, just to have their company. But Braj, Raj, whatever, But most people, it's Rajendra, or my closest friend's Raj, which probably matches my false ego best. But anyway, I'm so grateful to have a name and to be given the opportunity to try and serve Srila Prabhupada.
That's amazing. I'm going to probably come on to later on about Pankajani Prabhu, Jani Vas Prabhu, because I've seen, you with them, and there's maybe a few pastimes I'm sure everybody would love to hear. So I just want to now, you talked about your, the teaching aspect, and I've got a lovely picture here for everybody. Really cute. I really like this photo. Really cute. You can see Srila Prabhupada in the middle. He's there, and then you got all the children lined up, all the sides.
You see the little girls in the yellow and brown skirts?
Yes.
And the little boys to Srila Prabhupada's right. Nobody's wearing shirts. It's summertime, and back then we didn't wear kurtas. We just dhotis so often in the summer heat of
zoom
Dallas.
in on him. Zooming in.
So that's our ashram. That's me behind the tall devotee. That's our temple president in white with
just
the kurta.
There. Is that you?
That's me. And then the other teacher right there, the lady with the green bush behind it, Lokahita is her name. This was my first wife of 10 years. She unfortunately left Krishna consciousness, but she gets the credit of helping do the lion's share, taking care of these wonderful children. You see Srila Prabhupada looking at the little girls, and Prabhupada loved the children. I mean, Paramahamsa loves all living entities, but it was just so clear how important he considered taking care of the children of the devotees. These were the future, of our movement, and he really appreciated anyone who contributed to give them the taste for Krishna consciousness and help them, become steady or attached to devotional service.
Wow. And this picture was taken 75, if I'm correct.
Yeah, he just come back from a morning walk, and they did a group photo, and I'm so glad it's taken. It's Kali Yuga memories. These photos help you remember the moment.
Yeah, there's Prabhu and there's Srila Prabhupada. And look at the little children. They're so cute. they're so cute. I have a little daughter. She's a little child, so it just reminds me just seeing these little children. So it's so lovely. And can I just ask yourself? You were a teacher as well in the Gurukulas.
Well, I was an ashram teacher. I didn't have any academic. I passed high school, but that's it. So I just took. They would call it a cottage parent in the secular world. With a boarding school, I was the cottage parent. I was their ashram teacher.
Oh, and Srila Prabhupada, when he came here and he saw the children, saw the school, what was his? Because this picture's beautiful. Can you recall anything? Because you're quite close to him there. What he was saying, what he thought of the Gurukula and things like that?
Well, there are films, if you go online, YouTube or what have you, of the children paying their basis. This is Srila Prabhupada in the temple, and him giving, and they're offering flowers, etc., and Prabhupada giving cookies, and it's wonderful. he loved seeing the children sing and dance, or when they would chant the Bhagavad Gita slokas that they had memorized, or, it's like one of the evening Bhagavad Gita classes, there was a question by a devotee where he said, how can we please you most? And Srila Prabhupada said, by developing your love for Krishna. So when he saw these children making advancement in that way, that they were heading towards Krishna, their love for Krishna, he was just so happy. I mean, to see him in the Gurukula, it really solidified my understanding of my good fortune to have that service. I'm very grateful. I did that service for about 5 years in Dallas and then in Vrindavan later on. But there's two other things I'll make mention that I think are really nice. How do we repay Krishna? Or how do we repay you? By developing your love for Krishna. Another one was, how does it feel? He was asked, how does it feel to be Krishna conscious? And he immediately, without skipping a beat, said, it's without fear. In other words, he was fearless. That was a wonderful answer. And then there was another one that I remember where a Sankirtan devotee said, Srila Prabhupada, I go out and sometimes I'm very forceful with the we used to use the term karmis, with the karmis outside. And then when I come home, sometimes I'm a little forceful, pushy with the devotees too. What should I do? And I like this answer Srila Prabhupada gave. He said, you should be like a lion on the chase and a lamb at home. So that was a beautiful one-liner that was able to stick in my dull brain. I like that one also.
Lion
let's see. Huh?
Lion on the chase and a lamb at home, right?
Yes,
Wow.
Prabhu. I also, if you've read Shama Sundar's book, where he says sometimes him and Srila Prabhupada would have conversations where nobody was speaking. If you've read the book, that took place sometimes in his office. And I had one such experience, if I can share with you.
Please, yes.
We're sitting in the temple, and it was basically our temple was an old church. And that's what the ashram and the Prashadam hall, it was a church that we converted. And then our temple, specifically with Radhakala Chanji in it, and Srila Prabhupada's Vyasasan at two opposite ends, it was an old basketball gymnasium. So it was very long. It was big and long. And I had the youngest children. And so for Bhagavatam class, we sat the furthest away from Srila Prabhupada than anybody else. We were right next to the deities on the altar, and Srila Prabhupada's Vyasan was at the other end of the temple. And because these children, they're 4 and 5 years old, I mean, they're not in rapt attention with the Srimad Bhagavatam class. I mean, obviously, they're being purified hearing Srila Prabhupada, but fidgety, always moving about. So unlike everybody, we had a row in the middle of the temple. Srila Prabhupada had an unobstructed view of the deities as he gave the Bhagavatam lectures. And the boys on one side facing this way and the girls on the other side facing the other way, open aisle. I was the only teacher who sat kind of in the open space and faced my students, because I was always having to go, hey, shh. It was like constant, like. And so Srila Prabhupada was on the Vyasan. I'll try and do this where you can see it. And, of course, I'm watching him and hearing as best I can. And he goes like this. And he's all at the other end of the thing. And I didn't think anything of it. And then he did it again. He went like this. And then it kind of like, huh? And then the third time he did that, he's not speaking, but inside my head at that point, I could hear him saying, turn around and scoot out of the aisle. You're disturbing my darshan. And it's like, oh my gosh, it was like a thunderbolt when I realized he's speaking and not stopping the class, but he's motioning to me. And it took 3 times for me to catch it that, hey, sit with the children, get out of the way, let me have my darshan. and give class. So that was actually, that was really a wonderful experience, because it seems so insignificant, but for me it was like that lightning going, oh my gosh, Srila Prabhupada, who is just give me an instruction, let me do it.
That's
So see,
wow.
my reciprocation with Srila Prabhupada are just like countless others. I'm not a big devotee. I wasn't a big manager or anything like that. They have tons to share, but the little things in which he reciprocated with so many of us, it just solidified our love and gratitude, for lifetimes, hopefully.
Wow.
For eternity.
No, this is the beauty, the amount of, that those little service points you got, those little nudges to do, get out of the way. It's like now it's just like such an amazing memory that's created. And actually, talking of memories, I want to just ask you, because I also saw this beautiful photo. Yes, I did go. I saw on your Facebook. Sorry if I was Facebook stalking you. I was checking out some of your photos. Fantastic. So just here, this is also, I believe, at the similar time in 1975. And there you are. Is just so I'm clear?
I'm the devotee wearing the garland there, sitting as close as I can to Srila Prabhupada. I always had that kind of mood. I was shameless. I would edge right up to the front anytime I could. So Srila Prabhupada would, every time he'd visit, he would, encourage the teachers, instruct the teachers, give them advice, the guidance. And so this is one such a time. And he was lecturing from the 6th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, when he came at this time. But he was translating the 7th canto. And in this evening, it was an evening darshan, we're all sitting there, and he shared with us that which wasn't even available to anybody else. And that was the instructions of Narada Muni on brahmachari life. And that night he quoted from the first verse of the 12th chapter. It was, I'll go ahead and just read the translation. A student should practice completely controlling his senses. He should be submissive, have an attitude of firm friendship for the spiritual master. With a great vow, the brahmachari should live at the Gurukula only for the benefit of the guru. So he was sharing with us things that we'd never heard, and that wasn't published yet. And that was exciting, super exciting. And there is a book called Without Fear by Rupa Vilas Prabhu. He's living in England, I believe, and he gives different pastimes of Srila Prabhupada in Dallas. And he gives, take your time and read the chapter, a lot more time than we have, the chapters. But Srila Prabhupada was basically trying to help us find the balance between strictness and love. Because you have to be strict, you have to discipline, but at the same time, how do you inspire the children to take to Krishna consciousness? And Srila Prabhupada was telling us it's by love. So there was a thing, I with hands folded, I never hit a child by Krishna's grace, but you can't say that about every teacher. I mean, children can push your buttons, and we were young, et cetera, et cetera. And so when they were talking about punishment, Prabhupada said, well, you can give them a slap. Now, one time, and this is a little cringeworthy, but I was walking down a hall and I heard in a classroom, one devotee get a slap. And the fact that I could hear somebody being slapped when I'm out in the hall with the door shut is just like, oh my God, that wasn't right. And so Srila Prabhupada was, when asked how do you punish them? Well, just give them a slap. And this is the one question I asked Srila Prabhupada, and it may seem very trivial or insignificant, but it meant a lot for me because I wanted others to hear. And I said, Srila Prabhupada, how hard should one slap one? And then he just went like this, just a little tap on the head. So that was like, anybody who thinks that, I think we, I might have the term wrong. I started to say corporal punishment, but Prabhupada said you can show a stick, but don't use it. I mean, it's the thing, once you've used it, the fear is lost. so much for the discipline and stricture. But anyway, that was the one question I asked of Srila Prabhupada, but it was pertinent to the time.
Fantastic. Wow. It's nice that you got the chance to ask such questions that we can really try to get something from, and give such practical advice as well. Srila Prabhupada gave. That was what I just took from there, isn't it?
Yeah, Krishna consciousness definitely is about common sense and practicality. Everything else might just be intellectual and out there, but when it comes down to it, it's the natural, easy way to be. Serve Krishna, serve Guru.
And then, from that point, from the 75, such amazing pastimes you had. And then, if I'm correct, after that, you had this chance to go to Vrindavan. That was coming. I think there was two things. One was the solid connection. First, you were in New York, because of course you're in Dallas. You went down to New York, where you saw Srila Prabhupada was it the 76? Is that the time?
Yes, I got to see two Rath Yatras that Srila Prabhupada was in. I went to the Bay Area and saw him there. They had just opened up the Berkeley Temple. They're wonderful pictures. The Vyasan from Berkeley was magnificent. Two lion heads on the front of the Vyasan, beautiful royal Vyasan. So there's pictures of Srila Prabhupada in that. And from that, I remember the lecture, he's talking about the Owl Society. If you don't want to see God, you never have to see him. You can be like the owls who'll tell you there's no such thing as a sun. Why? Because they keep their eyes closed all night, all day long. So that I remember. And jumping over the Tamal Krishna Maharaj's shoulder to grab a cookie Prabhupada was tossing out, that was a memorable thing in the Bay Area also. And then 76, this was really special because they had purchased a skyscraper building in New York City, and Srila Prabhupada had told Karandar Prabhu that if he could accomplish something like that he guaranteed he would go back home to Godhead. So from the small, humble beginning of 22nd Avenue, what have you, matchless gifts, to this 12, 13-story temple. So Prabhupada was so pleased. And Rath Yatra, Rath Yatra is Srila Prabhupada's thing. He was doing that since he was a child. Jai Jagannath. So we had the first Rath Yatra right down Fifth Avenue, Prabhupada said, the most important street in the most important city of the world. And just, countless thousands and thousands of people were there, just in the whole kirtan. There were so many devotees from all over the country. So I got to be there also. And so that's what inspired me to soon thereafter, in the beginning of 77, the end of 76, to move to India, to move to the Dham, because Srila Prabhupada in 75 was in great health. Man, he was going. In 76, he was still going, but you could see the toll. The health was not as good with Srila Prabhupada. He was sick in New York. And I just got this idea, I think it was inspiration from the Lord, that, if you want to have his association, he's probably not going to travel as much as he has been. I bet he's going to stay in India more often if his health deteriorates more. And I was correct. So I moved we went to Mayapur. We saw Srila Prabhupada in Mayapur for the Gaur Purnima Festival in 77. I got to do one little service for him there.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so inconsequential, but for me, it's just like the fact, this is what I say about anybody. Pleasing Krishna is so super easy. Pleasing the devotees is how you please Krishna. And if you can put a smile on somebody's face, that's an eternal point. That's a point of, that's currency in the bhakti bank. So Srila Prabhupada was leaving Mayapur, and I'd gotten right up on the stairway of the Lotus building there. Those who've been there, they know how it was. And it wasn't a cultivated garden. It was just kind of, the road was there, and his little ambassador car was there, and he was getting in. They all came down, Srila Prabhupada, Hari Sari, a couple of sannyasis. And then Hari Sari realized he spaced out. He had no water for Srila Prabhupada for the journey to Calcutta. So he yelled out, does anybody have a water bottle? by Krishna's grace, I had a water bottle, and yeah, I have one, and ran down there and gave it to Hari Sari, and sure enough, I asked him, yeah, Srila Prabhupada. He was so glad that he had water to offer him. So anyway, that was a little
Wow.
thing, and he was speaking from seventh canto, Prahlad Maharaj's prayers. That was really special, but he was missing classes there. He wasn't so well. And then if you fast forward, I moved to Vrindavan because that's where the Gurukula had really located. So I continued, took up my services again as an ashram teacher. And sure enough, this is where it gets into the Antya Leela, Srila Prabhupada. And this is, as I may have mentioned to you before, that this is where I really solidified my eternal relationship with Srila Prabhupada, because from, what was it, like April until basically November, Srila Prabhupada stayed in Vrindavan. With one exception, he went to London, thought he was going to, do a bit more of his, spreading the mercy, spreading the mission, London, then New York, etc. But he had to turn around, come right back after observing Janmashtami and Vyasa Puja there. But that's where I got a lot of association, seen him a lot, and boy, did he purchase me there. I mean, first of all, if I can read this one paragraph, because it's Prabhupada's own words and it's very powerful, very potent. It's not just my faulty memory. But when he came, he had been in Rishikesh. You've seen in the films, you've read in the Leelamrita, etc. And Srila Prabhupada actually thought that he might leave his body. And boy, did he stir him into action. He told, I want to go to Vrindavan immediately. I might be leaving my body. So they got him there, boy, ASAP, immediately. So when he came in, he was even a little more gaunt. They carried him from his car. He didn't even walk in. They carried him in, and he sat down in his room, and he gave a darshan. And this is what he shared with us. He said, previously I was in Rishikesh, and I thought I might be leaving my body. So if death takes place, let it take place here. So there's nothing to be said new. Whatever I have to say, I've spoken in my books. Now try to understand it and continue your endeavors. Whether I'm present or not, it doesn't matter. As Krishna is living eternally, similarly, the living being also lives eternally. But Kirtir, yes, Ajivati, one who has done service to the Lord, lives forever. So you've been taught to serve Krishna. So with Krishna, our life is eternal. The temporary disappearance of this body, it doesn't matter. The body is meant for disappearance. So live forever by serving Krishna. Really sobering. Oh my gosh. Our spiritual master, you could never, I mean, now we've seen, my godbrothers, sisters, it's like, who isn't passing away? Even before COVID or anything was on the scene, somebody was, going back to Godhead regularly, so not surprising, as Srila Prabhupada says. But the concept that Srila Prabhupada would leave us, it was inconceivable, incomprehensible. And so that was like a real wake-up call. But the reason why I talk about my own relationship needing to really grow in relationship to Srila Prabhupada, like, I didn't cry when Srila Prabhupada said that. It was just kind of shock. But one of my godbrothers, Yasodanandan Swami, someone I really looked up to, he was crying like a baby. He was immediately feeling what that reality meant, separation from Srila Prabhupada. And I got to see, wow, I need that. I need that kind of connection with Srila Prabhupada. So over the course of the next few months, that's what took place by his mercy. My conviction is, and we're talking about Antya Leela here, Srila Prabhupada didn't have to stay as long as he did. I mean, this is a little known fact, but Yadubara has confirmed it with me. Before he made Hare Krishna, the movie, the latest one, he put out that movie where, Prabhupada's Antya Leela was there. There was no sound, there weren't words, basically. It was black and white. And, You know, it showed Srila Prabhupada looking like one of the 6 Goswamis, Raghunath Das Goswami, who didn't eat, you know, little butter milk or something, you know, every day or every other day, something like that. Srila Prabhupada's emaciated form manifests like that. You stop eating, you become skin and bones. And so many devotees, it was just too heartbreaking to see. But I was of the conviction, wait a second, we have paintings of Lord Chaitanya carrying Haridas Thakur at the very end. I mean, oh my gosh, even as that's the point in Krishna consciousness. Although it may tear your heart into 1,000 pieces, that's what love means. In Krishna consciousness, the gift of Lord Chaitanya is he came to taste and share Vipralambha. That, you know, that's the dance of love. To heighten the union, that has to be there. It's not something you look forward to. It's not something we tell somebody when they first join Krishna consciousness. By the way, you're going to have your heart broken. You're going to fall in love with the spiritual master and devotees, but that's the nature of this world. We will be separated on the bodily platform. Spiritually, that's a whole different ballgame. There is no such thing as separation in reality. But anyway, Srila Prabhupada stayed with us for months, just so, like I sometimes would say, Radhanath Swami appreciated this one time on a Vyasa Puja ceremony. I said, Jesus Christ died for our sins. Srila Prabhupada lived on for us and stayed with us just to purify us. So Srila Prabhupada really did that for months. And one time when he was thinking about going on Govardhan Parikrama, which all his intimate servants knew would be the cause of his leaving his body, they couldn't tolerate it, and they finally, you know, in tears, just came and begged him, please don't go. And Srila Prabhupada was with Krishnadas Babaji, Akinchana Krishnadas, his godbrother, and he turned to him and he said, just see how much devotion they have for me. And he said, of course I won't go. And they said, oh, Jai, you know, Srila Prabhupada, sometimes you put us in such anxiety. And Srila Prabhupada said, that's my duty. So that his whole last number of months was just to give us the opportunity to serve him longer, to serve him more. I got to chant for Srila Prabhupada during Bhagavatam class. He wouldn't go give classes. That he has his garden there behind his house.
Yep.
And I got the service of chanting for him one-on-one. Little tiny kartals, and it wasn't like I was super qualified or anything. Here was all I had to know to get that service. You know, the announcement was made, does anybody want to chant for Srila Prabhupada? It won't be every day, but sometimes he'll come down and he'll sit in his garden and you can chant for him. I said, yeah. So Akshayananda Swami, the temple president, grilled me. He said, well, what's the morning tune? So I said, you know, Hare Krishna, Krishna. And then he said, what's the second part, the up part? So then I chanted that. If I had known the second part, I wouldn't have gotten the service. But just because I knew how to sing the morning tune, then they gave me those little kartos. You can see them in the films. They're like the size of a $50 in America. And just first time I started singing, I was so excited. I was clanging, you know, and Prabhupada put his hand, settle down. It's okay, just softly chant. And he was sitting in his garden and, you know, just meditating on Krishna, absorbed in his samadhi. One morning he chanted his Gayatri while he was in there. Oh my gosh. There's a picture on what used to be the Perfection of Yoga, the old books, where Srila Prabhupada was chanting his Gayatri. And I got to be in his presence with, boy, could you really feel the presence of his spiritual master, Lord Chaitanya, and Radha and Krishna when he chanted his Gayatri. Wow. Transcendental. So what else can I share with you? You want to hear a time that I got the look where I was burnt to ashes from Srila Prabhupada?
Please,
I said I got one jai. Now this is the other end.
Okay, like I'm going to say no.
Srila Prabhupada he would be carried on a palanquin. And I don't know why, but they just had one stick on each side of the palanquin with his rocking chair. And instead of two sticks on either side, 4 people carrying Srila Prabhupada in the palanquin would have been so much easier. I carried it once or twice, and it was bone crushing. Oh my gosh. But they would take him to the temple from his house, put him in the temple. You'd have darshan of their lordships, and then the Gurukula boys would sing and dance. Someone would lead kirtan and they would dance, and Srila Prabhupada would be so pleased seeing the young boys dancing for him and for the Lord. And so when fall was coming around, it started getting cool. And he wore a chadar into the temple, but then they took it off, folded it up, and put it on his lap. And, this is really stupid of me. But when they were bringing him out to take him back to his house, it's not even that long of space, but it was cool outside. I thought, oh, Srila Prabhupada, you're going to be cold. So while they were walking, I was walking beside him on the palanquin, and I'm a nobody. It's like, and I had the bright idea that I would take his chadar from his lap and then just very quickly throw it on his shoulders. It would have taken a moment. But as soon as I touched his chadar on his lap, he looked at me like, and those looks, it was like Muchakunda, fire out of the eyes. And I just like, ooh, and, fell back, immediately paid my obeisance. I'm so sorry, Srila Prabhupada, that was way too forward. It wasn't proper. I'm so very sorry. But I got both spectrums. Even though it was just a jai, I got a compliment, which just expanded my heart. And then I got to feel like a complete idiot in front of my spiritual master, which is actually the proper consciousness to be in when you're around your spiritual master.
So you had the jai and you also had the look. So you had all the aspects of how it's
I'll tell you how heavy it is. Jananivas told me one time Srila Prabhupada chastising, and he felt like jumping off the top of the Lotus building. He wasn't exaggerating. That's the kind of thought, oh my God, I've just displeased my spiritual master. But that's simply a symptom of love. I mean, he's given us eternal service, and how can we ever repay that? In whatever feeble ways we try, when we blow it, it's like, oh, Krishna, Prabhupada, please continue to forgive me. Don't kick me away.
Well, it's amazing how many years you have been, here with us and giving us the association of talking about Srila Prabhupada. So Prabhupada definitely has, you can see, you have that connection, and he has a connection with you. And Prabhu, I want to just bring on the point we said about, you just mentioned about Janivas Prabhu and Pankajani Prabhu. And when I've been seeing you, I've seen you with them and seen, and that's what I've remember. So can we have, since we've only got now, it's coming up to the hour soon, and I was just wondering, time is
Tell me
flown.
how many minutes. Tell me how many minutes. This is how then I know how to respond.
We have 7.5 minutes left.
Okay.
So please give us some pastimes all of us could hear. Just as well.
I'm going to give you one I consider really special, and this is to give encouragement to anybody who didn't meet Srila Prabhupada. All you Prabhus, this is a really special pastime for me. Prabhupada has left the planet. It's been many years. And my Siksha gurus in Mayapur used to be Padmalochan Prabhu, the twins, and Jayapataka Swami. Not necessarily in that order, but in terms of constant association and closeness of friendship, it began with Padmalochan Prabhu. And if you didn't know him, that's a shame, because he was quite the Dhamvasi, very much a Prabhupada man. And he became sick and was going to leave his body. He had this cancer, leukemia or something. They couldn't diagnose it. They didn't really know what it was, but there's no question his chart, they were saying, if you can make it past this time, then you'll be okay. Me and Jananivas Prabhu were trying our best. We're his best friends. And we're trying to convince him to go to the Bhaktivedanta Hospital in Mumbai. And, I know he probably came this close, because Jananivas, and I was a very good friend also. It's just like, at one time, right after, I was trying to twist his arm because we wanted him to become healthy, figure it out, get healthy. But this is just a couple of weeks before he left this world, and crying, just totally broken down, like, Rajendra, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And in that mood, that's when real surrender takes place. And so he decided to stay in the Dham. He was stubborn, and thank God he was, because the time came and went saying he was going to survive it. And as fate would have it, it wasn't Krishna's desire. But I was taking one night a week, staying up with him all night long and rendering service, helping him with the toilet or massage or whatever he needed. Mostly just chanting japa with him. But at 3 o'clock one morning, I was really tired, and I said, hey, I'm going to go take an early shower. I'm almost falling asleep here. He said, okay. So I went into the bathroom, and while I was in the bathroom, I'd finished my shower and whatever, and then I heard, Padmalochan, Padmalochan. And I stuck my head out into the hallway, and nobody was there. I thought maybe it was his wife. But no, if it had been his wife, she would have gone into the room, and she was still sleeping in another room. And so it just kind of came and went, bounced right out of my head. That night, when Jananivas came to visit him, he visited every evening. Padmalochan told him that Srila Prabhupada called out to me early this morning to let me know everything was okay. And Jananivas told me that the next morning. So 24 hours has elapsed, and he said, wow, you want to hear something really amazing? Srila Prabhupada called out to Padmalochan, called his name twice to assure him everything's okay. Like, oh man, that's amazing. Wait a minute. I heard him. I heard that. But you know, if things don't fit in the little box of our tiny brain, it just goes right over your head. You just bounce it right out. So anyway, I just want to share with everybody, it's not like Prabhupada's dead and gone. Anytime he wishes to, he can manifest that Vapa form that we all know. He's sitting there in Samadhi in Vrindavan. He's in everybody's heart if you've invited him there. I mean, there is, you know, it's an open invitation. His divine grace means the instructions of Srila Prabhupada. And if we will take those as our life and soul and stay in the association of those who also are aspiring or who have made Srila Prabhupada's service and instructions our life and soul, then the ticket's in our hand. It's a done deal. His mercy is oceanic, and if we just do our part of the bargain, the vows we've made to our spiritual master, his servant, then, you know, it's just a matter of time before we get to rejoin the family of ISKCON in the spiritual world.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Prabhu. That's just, it just helps us all to come closer to Srila Prabhupada, hearing this amazing pastime. And I can see a lot of people have been sending so much here. Carmela Naidu said, thank you so much for sharing these wonderful pastimes. So grateful. She said, wow, we've got also some points here. It says Facebook user. Hare Krishna, thank you for sharing your deep realizations and bond with Srila Prabhupada. Your description of your bodily hair standing up, tears flowing as you experienced Srila Prabhupada's Paramhamsa presence. Amazing. Rasagula Prasadam. Chudamani Dasi. So it's everyone is really feeling it. Meena Kumari said, beautiful stories. Thank you, Prabhu. And she also says powerful words, so touching. So it's really appreciated that you've given that time for so many people, and now this is there to listen to again and again. This is here to really give us a chance to really get that association with Rajendra Nanda. I knew you were going to do that. I'm just so blown away for what you've been telling us. So thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for your association.
Thank you for your services, interviewing so many wonderful devotees and including me. I mean, most of us are married. I was giving a class yesterday quoting from the seventh canto. The main duty for the householders or any ashram is to again and again and again hear from the saintly devotees the glories of Krishna and his devotees. I mean, that's our life and soul. If we can absorb ourselves in that katha, the katha of Srila Prabhupada's glories, you know, the outside world, it's an ocean. The waves are turbulent and it's a mess, but we're safe and sound in the shelter of Srila Prabhupada's service and in the company of, you know, our fellow devotees. So, you know, this is what we do. And thank you for letting me share.
Thank you. And please let me make it back. Rajendranandana Prabhu.
Hey, can I make a plug for the Sri Purushottam
Please
Mayapur
do.
Parikrama?
Please
Prabhus,
do.
You gotta go and listen to the devotees glorifying Lord Chaitanya the Dham. Trust me, those who are addicted to it, we can't wait. And if you haven't been on parikrama, this could be even better because there's no heat, there's no hunger, there's no sore, achy muscles from walking. When are we getting there walking? It's just going to be pure nectar coming in the ears. And I just encourage everyone, please listen when it's live or listen to the recording. You don't want to miss it. So that's just a thumbs up or a plug for some of the nectar that'll be happening soon. October 9th, I believe, is the Adivas.
October 9th is happening. Raj Bandal Parikrama, if I'm correct, you said? Is that right?
It's actually Navadweep.
Navadweep.
Yeah.
So
I hate to go. I think you're going to be kicking me out of here. But to all the people listening, my prostrated obeisances, thank you for taking to this Krishna consciousness that Srila Prabhupada is sharing with us, his followers are sharing with us. Thank you for being there for each other, for me. And like I said to Jagannath Kirtananda Prabhu, hopefully sooner than later we can see each other in Mayapur. And don't be shy, come up and tap me on the shoulder and, you know, engage me in some way to try and please you.
Thank you so much. And I just want to finish talking of, you talked about Jayapataka Swami Maharaj earlier as well.
My hero. Don't get me started.
It's his 50th sannyas anniversary. So today they had a festival and tomorrow it's also happening. So check out on Jayapataka Swami Facebook page, YouTube page, Mayapur TV, where this is also airing right now. This is actually also airing on Jayapataka Swami Maharaj's Facebook page right now as well. So please do tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. IST to 9:30 p.m. IST. Do not miss this occasion to associate with His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj and also all the other sannyasis, senior Vaishnavas, and we're going to have some Maharajas from other Gaudiya mutts also
glorifying. Oh,
yes.
That's wonderful.
So I want everybody to join. Like Prabhu is saying, Mayapur Dham is very touching. It's an amazing place.
Life-changing. It's our home.
So I want everyone to check that out tomorrow. And also make sure you check out Navadip Parikrama. What Prabhu is saying. We must check that out. 9th of October. And I will try and get some information on that from yourself, Prabhu. And then I will send that information out to everybody and remind them next week as well. So thank you so much.
Speaking of Jayapataka, may I invoke his blessings?
Please. Whoa. I felt that. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. How can you not be energized after that?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.